Susegad, which is the Goan art of contentment. And we've got with us Clyde D'Souza, who's a best-selling author, and he describes himself as a proud Goan. I know I have been dreaming, and I've been dreaming for quite a while now. I think ever since the lockdown happened, that I want to be in Goa. So I'm so excited to do this session. So maybe it will give me that vibe of being in Goa. So today we're going to talk about how you can find your own Susegad. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, because please do correct me because I want to learn how to
You are
pronounce.
you.
So it's a Konkani word which has no exact translation in English, but Goans use it to convey that sense of contentment, fulfillment, and relaxation that everyone associates with Goa and its culture. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sukirti Gupta. I'm the co-founder of Sipping Thoughts. Sipping Thoughts is a multi-platform media company that was co-founded by me and by Meeta Gudgutia. It was set up keeping in mind the tagline, real women, real thoughts. We want to create a no judgment platform and create a network of women for women. Sipping Thoughts reaches to 4 million women on a monthly basis, and we are growing. So please do check us out on Instagram, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and of course, our website. But today we are talking to Clyde. He's a best selling author, and today he's going to show us what is Goan and what are the wonderful, unique elements that help Goans achieve that Susegad, and what we can do so that we can all add a pinch of this magic to our life, no matter where we live. So I know if all of you have gone to the beaches, probably have gone to Goa, you do get into this relaxed kind of Zen state. So hopefully we'll be able to bring some of that back even when we are wherever we are in our respective homes. A little bit about Clyde. He's a creative director who has worked in TV, print, and digital. He's the author of Kissing Ass, The Art of Office Politics. Definitely have to talk to him about this. And
Yes.
Ghanta College, The Art of Tapping College Life, both of which have been published by Penguin. So this is his latest book that is published again by Penguin. So first of all, let's get started. Clyde, first, welcome to Sipping Thoughts, and we're excited to have you here.
Thank you, Sukriti. I'm very happy and joyous to be here with Sipping Thoughts and you, and I'm really happy to kind of talk about Susegad, the Goan art of contentment, and everything else that we can talk about. So yeah, so Susegad, like you said, right? I mean, it's a Konkani word, it's a Portuguese word. It comes from the Portuguese word sosegado, which now has become Susegad in Goa, and loosely translated means peace, satisfaction, and of course contentment. Finding a kind of balance which we're all striving for these days.
So, Clyde, let's get started. First of all, you wear many hats, and you've written very different types of books. So one is
That's
about the art of office politics, then college life, and now this book on Susegad. So tell us about this and tell us about your writing and what moves you to write on such varied topics.
right. Yeah. So Sukriti, so I mean, my wheelhouse, my most comfort zone of writing is a style of casual humor. Very tongue in cheek, very informal, very the way we talk, not really extremely deep or extremely laborious or difficult to read as such. So that's the kind of writing that I like to do, and that's how Kissing as the art of office politics came about. Because obviously, working in a corporate environment and in the regular 9 to 5 kind of job, kind of realize so many different things about work and how sometimes it's more about how you play the politics rather than the actual work. So that's how the first book came about. The second one was for college students and how they can kind of top their own college life. So that's how the first two books came about, and that's my style of writing. It's more casual, more humorous. So yeah.
Now tell me, when you were writing Susegad, because we were all in the lockdown for 1 year. So have Goans handled this better than the rest of us? Has there, because I know a lot of people, at least a lot of my friends, when they said, okay, if I have to be in a lockdown, I might as well go to the hills or go to Goa.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I didn't get that. What did you say?
I said, so did Goans handle the lockdown any differently because of their attitude?
Oh, so yeah, so I spoke to a lot of my family and friends who are in Goa, and they said that the lockdown was a completely different experience for them. It actually set them back, like 50, 60 years back. It went back to the whole traditional ways because obviously Goa is also modernizing just like everybody else in the world. So there are refrigerators, there are supermarkets, and there's all of that. But during the lockdown, it became like the Goa of old. So neighbors started coming with food, people who grew vegetables in their backyards, they started distributing their own vegetables. People who were catching fish and delivering that to their neighbors. So all of that was happening, you know. So Goans, from what I hear, from the little story that I hear of my friends and family, they said it was wonderful. You know, it was back to the old days, and a lot of them enjoyed that. So yeah.
So tell us, what gave you this idea to write this book this time?
Yeah, so well, obviously I've been a Goan all my life, and I remember going to Goa as a child and doing all the lovely things that a lot of us experience when we go to Goa. And I don't mean the touristy things. I mean like the simple agrarian villagey stuff, like having a well water bath, or catching fish from the river and getting it, or getting crabs from the nearby river, or just plucking mangoes. So I've been, of course, a lifelong fan of Goa. It's my happy place. It's where I go, when I want to feel a bit better. So Penguin approached me actually with this concept of Susegad and trying to write this, and they said, can you do something like that? So that's how I put my mind to it, and then created the structure. And I thought I'll approach it from all the perspectives that are there, whether it's food, music, the traditions, the festivals. Yeah, so that's how it came about.
So tell us, I mean, I know we've talked a little bit about what Susegad means, but what does it mean to you? And how do you think about this word?
Yeah, so Susegad, right? Susegad, a lot of people think Susegad means laid back or lazy, right? All of that, but that's just the touristy point of view. Because when, as a tourist, when you go there, obviously you're going to go there to relax and just gaze around, right? But from the Goan perspective, Susegad basically means finding satisfaction. There's a phrase that Goans use. It's called Maka Susegdi. Okay, so Maka Susegdi means give me peace. Yeah, so a lot of if you're being too naughty, or if you're doing something that's as a child, if you're doing something like that, then your parent will say, Maka Susegdi, give me peace. Okay, so Suseg means peace, and that's what Goans strive for. They try to find that kind of balance. And I think over the centuries, I don't know whether it was because of colonization or because it has 11 rivers, it has a coast on one side, it has the Sayadri Hills on the other side. I don't know what, but some magical amalgamation led to them living a kind of life which was, very balanced, right? So whether it's stocking their food, whether it's taking a siesta, there's a kind of satisfactory balance that Goans seem to have, you know. So yeah, that is what Susegad means to me. Trying to find that balance in my everyday life, and it's not something that you can kind of just pick up and do. And it's not something that comes easy to any one of us. And I'm sure it doesn't come easy to a lot of Goans as well. But I think if you make that into a habit, trying to find some sort of balance and trying to find joy, that's what I think. It's not something that you have to like just sit down and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. It's just trying to find joy and peace in everyday things. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think a lot of these books are becoming very, very popular. So, of course, I think a lot of the people have heard about Ikagai, Hege, a lot of this. So, how is Susegad different from them? How is it similar? Are they all in the same vein? Because they're all kind of telling us now to get back and find maybe ourselves, find our true joy.
Yeah, true. So, very interesting question, and you're absolutely right. There seems to be a lot of books in this kind of category, whether it's Ikigai or whether it's Huga or whether it's Lika or Luka. I'm sure. Sorry. So, I think a lot of people have kind of noticed that even though we have so many conveniences and comforts, and we have internet, and we have 300 TV channels, and we can just order food, but a lot of us still find some sort of dissatisfaction in life. Which is very odd because we are living in a time which is the most convenient, right? We have everything literally at our fingertips, literally. But still, a lot of people are dissatisfied. They're kind of sad. Depression seems to be on its rise. And of course, now over the last year, because of the pandemic, that just seems to have, hit like a vertical on the graph, right? So it's, I think that's why it's become really important for all of us to kind of just, become more, I think the word would be conscious or aware of how we're, living, and I think that's why books like Ikigai and Huga and Luka and now Susegad, come into the fray, and they're at the right time to kind of bring about this awareness. So everybody's kind of more tuned into whether it's mental health or whether it's climate change or whether it's equality, and all of these things are kind of now reaching a point where we're just becoming more conscious. So even though we like to live uh, unconsciously, let's say, but I think consciousness is kind of coming about, consciousness and also and having fun, but in a conscious manner. So yeah.
So you said Susegad is kind of a lifestyle. It's a way that Goans do things, which is a combination of their traditions, which is a combination of food, and which is a combination of festivals. And so
Yeah.
that kind of all combines into giving them this very contented type of lifestyle. So let's delve into each one of these. Let's first talk about what is it that this holistic way that they look at things, especially their traditions, that gives them this feeling of Susegad.
Right. So I think, obviously there's no real formula, and I have just attempted to kind of bring it into some sort of formula. From, again, like I said, I'm just as much learning about Susegad and the ways of the Goans as any of us, and it's an everyday process, right? So what I noted about Goans, especially the traditional Goans, is that they're very tuned into nature. Yeah, they're very tuned into what time of the day it is, what season it is. So the time of the day will result in whether they're cooking, whether they're taking a siesta, whether they're having their evening tea, whether they're sitting on the balcony and gossiping, right? So all of these things have to do with the time of day. Then the other thing that they're very, very conscious about is the seasons, right? So Goa now, of course, if you see, has only one big season, which is in India. It's summer season. It's hot everywhere, right? But there are seasons in Goa as well, which people are very tuned in. So there's during the monsoons, they will not fish so that the fish can breed, right? And before the monsoons, they will do this tradition called Purument. So Purument is the tradition of stocking up food. Yeah. So whether it's stocking up on mangoes or whether it's stocking up on fish or pickling them, preserving them, all of this is done in the backyard by aunties and uncles and children who have to, make sure that the food is not being picked up by crows or by stray dogs. So these are the little things that Goans do, which keep them in touch with nature. So they're kind of very aware of nature. Is what I've kind of noticed about a lot of Goans. You know,
So, how
yeah.
have you seen that awareness of that nature and these traditions have helped them achieve that contentment?
Yeah, so I think, this is a very difficult question to answer because now all of us can't be content all of the time, right? I mean, if that was there, then this would be utopia. But there is a sort of stoic acceptance. I think a lot of Goans don't make a big fuss about things. So if it's really, really hot, it's really, really hot. And that's that. So they're kind of accepting about the way things are. So I think that is one big part of the nature of a lot of Goans. They're like, okay, it's cool. It's if it's hot, it's hot. If it's raining really heavily, it's raining really heavily, and that means that you have to be at home. And Goan rains, if you have any of you have been to Goa during the monsoons, they're fierce. Okay, so it means you can't go out for 4 5 days. You're stuck at home. And that means, so what would you do? I mean, you can crib about it or you can kind of prepare for it, right? And preparing for it would mean doing some hard work and then finding satisfaction in that preparation. So that's why the whole stocking up. So this purement that I just said is the stocking up of everything from rice to vegetables to pickles to their fish, which Goans can't live without. Is the Goan word for fish, is what Goans can't live without. And it's basically once you're aware of nature, you're in sync with whether the what's growing in your backyard or the season. Once you're in sync with that, then you're kind of you accept that, okay, fine, now it's the monsoon and we have to accept that and we prepare for it. And that leads people to just be a little more content with the way things are.
But
Of
that's
course,
very
that's
tough
changing a
because
lot.
I mean, and now coming back to, of course, this idea of contentment and being in sync with nature. Because I, being a Delhiite, and I know we're going to complain about two things now the whole time: how hot it is, how hot it is, how hot it is. And the second thing,
Yeah,
the traffic, the traffic, the traffic.
yeah,
And if you're in Mumbai, I'm sure you're going to be cribbing about
the same. Don't
those
worry,
monsoons.
it's the same. It's the absolute same, right? So the thing is that while we are all living in the concrete jungle, right? Goa is slowly modernizing and it's urbanizing, but people are not living in the concrete jungle over there. They're still living with nature. So they're still living and they're still aware of when it's going to rain. They know that it's going to rain. They are aware of the changes in the soil. They are aware of the trees in their backyard. So even today, when I go and visit my family and friends, there's still people bringing over drumsticks. I mean, it's such a simple thing, right? But in Bombay or in Delhi or any kind of city that we live in, who goes to a neighbor and says, "Hey, here's drumsticks from my backyard," right? Or suddenly another person will come with a whole basket of live crabs and said, "Okay, I just picked up some crabs. There was this fisherman passing by the river by my house, and he found these really nice crabs, and he's brought them to me." So this still happens in Goa, and let's hope it stays that way for some more time to come. But it's this kind of living with nature and living amongst people that is still there in Goa, and that brings a lot of satisfaction, I think, among Goans.
So is that the first thing that we can learn? Is that first learn to live with nature and learn to accept nature?
Yes, absolutely right. First thing that we can all do, right? I mean, let's be honest. Okay, we all want our conveniences, we all want our comforts. Like right now, we all want the internet, we all want Zomato, we all want Uber, right? We're not going to give that up. No one's going to give that up, and I'm sure that in Goa as well, that's going to change. People are going to be getting towards their conveniences, but somehow, if we can keep the balance between convenience and nature, and be in sync with the community and nature, then maybe we can find that balance. Because oddly, the more conveniences we get, the more dissatisfied we seem to be,
So
which
it's
is
a
odd, right?
contradiction.
It's a contradiction, exactly. So I think books like Susegad are here to kind of awaken us, to tell us that, okay, listen, it's good to have things at your fingertips, but it's also good to sometimes be in sync with nature, and yeah, we all love our late nights and we love our binge watching, but if you can find a balance to that, that'll be great. And I think that's something that happened to me. Like they say, right? I mean, they say that if you write things down, it's like an affirmation, right? So me being a city-bred boy, okay, of course, who keeps going to Goa very often, but I'm still a city-bred boy and I like my conveniences. But just writing this book, right, was like affirmating to myself the things that I wanted, right? Whether it's cooking by myself, or whether it's trying meditation, okay, which I did try, and or yoga, which I now do like regularly on an everyday basis. I do yoga. Okay, so these are things that I didn't do before writing the book, right? So writing the book was like affirmating to myself, the various things that we do. So yeah, that was my own journey, and it's an everyday one, and it's an everyday one that you can do till you make it into a habit, right? So right now, then another thing that I mentioned in the book is that we are all creatures of habit, right? Every human being is a creature of habit. Now it just depends on which lane you take. You can take the bad habit lane, or you can take the good habit lane. And sometimes, of course, we're always on both those boats at all points of time, because we're human, right? But you can kind of try and increase the good habit bits and also have fun while you're doing those good habits, because you can't just be like one monk who just doesn't enjoy anything, right? So the other important thing is the habits part of it. So if you can kind of just increase the good habits one day at a time and have fun, like right now yoga is a pain in the butt for me, okay, but I still do it, and I did it even today, even though I had work and I had to do this interview, but I made sure that between 3:30 to 4 I finished the yoga, half an hour that I do. So after a while, after about 20 days or a month of it, it just becomes a habit. And then no matter how your day is going, no matter what it is, you're just stuck in that habit. And fortunately, it's a good habit. So I think the other part about increasing Susegad, increasing our contentment, is trying to do good habits. So Smita is coming up some very good points as well. So yeah, Smita, I agree with some of the things that you said.
She
Yeah,
says, yes, it's different every day. So I think from what I understand of tradition is getting in sync with nature, focusing on
right.
your habits, right? And maybe complaining a little bit less and accepting things the way that they are going to be that way.
Yeah, see, a lot of times, right, when we say accepting, we talk about accepting a lot of external things. Now, I don't want to sound like some self guru or whatever. I'm not that. Okay, this is just what I've learned while writing the book. It's just about we a lot of times we talk about accepting something else, accepting nature, or accepting another person. But the most important thing is accepting your own nature, right? And that is the most difficult part about everything, because your own nature is completely flawed, right? It's not some machine that you can code to be better or to improve. It's just something that you have to accept every day. And that is the biggest acceptance, which I think maybe a lot of Goans, they seem to be very at ease with themselves, you know? So yeah, what you mentioned, those three things are absolutely.
Now, the second part you said that definitely adds to that is the food. So, what's so different about the food that makes them get into this Susegad or into this territory of contentment? Because I know, yes, everybody will say that food is definitely something that makes us happy.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the biggest external factor, that brings us happiness and brings us joy and brings us health is food, right? Because food is the information for your body. It's the information for your body. That's what somebody, I don't know where I heard this, but food is information, which is very odd. I mean, when you think, food is information, but yeah, it is information for your body. It's informing your blood, it's informing your fat, it's informing your brain, how to do things differently, right? It's basically information for your body. And to be honest, Goan food is not the healthiest. Okay, so let's be frank about that. It's not the healthiest. It is the tastiest, yes. Okay, there's a bit of spice in Goan food. Okay, but also some of the Goan food that people have, especially fish. If you're a non-vegetarian and if you're okay with having fish, then obviously fish is pretty good. We all know that. Okay, then Goa is very big on vegetables as well. And there are a lot of wild vegetables that grow in Goa, whether it's your amaranth or whether it's these other names that I can't even pronounce properly, so I'm not going to butcher them. Okay, but there are a lot of, if you go to the regular markets in Goa, okay, it doesn't mean I'm not talking about like your supermarkets, okay, but if you go into the village and just find like what they call tintos, okay, tinto is the word for market in Goa, and every village in Goa has a tinto. Yeah, so if you go to these tintos, you'll find that all the women who are sitting over there, or the men, whoever are selling the vegetables, they have a lot of these wild vegetables. We don't even know their names, but they are basically found on the by the villages, by the roadside, by the riverside, and these guys get these vegetables to us, and a lot of them have a lot of properties which are good for the body. So that's something that if you do go to Goa, okay, try and go to your local vegetable market. Don't go to the regular touristy places, but try and find like these tintos. Okay, just ask the village that you're staying in, where's the village tinto. Yeah, and try and go only on the day that they come to shop and they come to sell their wares. And you'll find a lot of people over there selling things that you've not heard of. Yeah, there'll be like bottles of this coconut oil, which are from their own trees. Okay, or there'll be these mushrooms that you've not seen. So these are the kind of foods that are there, which are fun. So not your typical. There's of course your vindaloo and sorpotel and the fish curry, what they call sheet kodi and rice. Sheet is of course the Goan word for rice. Yeah, XITT. So those are the kind of foods that are available to Goa. And the other part about Goa is about Goan food, right? Sukriti, is that it's an amalgamation of various cultures. Okay, that's I think what makes it amazing, right? So it's not just Portuguese and Indian, but it's Portuguese, Indian, Brazilian, Chinese, African, Mozambique. So, for example, the kafriel, what we call as chicken kafriel. Okay, kafriel comes from, I think, Mozambique, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so there was a curry made over there from Mozambique, and when some of the Portuguese came from Mozambique to Goa, that's when they brought the kafriel with them. Or, for instance, not just something as exotic sounding as kafriel, but even your chili and tomatoes were brought in from South America, right? So I think this complete mixture of cultures is what makes Goan food very exciting. And the other interesting part is that the fusion between Indian food and Portuguese food. This culmination, okay, has resulted in new dishes, right? Yeah.
But tell us now, how does food relate to Susegad?
How does food relate to Susegad? Okay, so I think one is it makes you relax. Okay, so some of the food, especially the aromas of the food, Okay, a lot of the curries, some of the curries take like an hour to cook, especially if you're going to do them in the traditional way, which is a lot of Goans traditional Goans will still do it in the traditional way, which is they'll still grind their coconut, which takes, it takes its own sweet time. Then after that, they will actually roast the chilies, they'll dry the chilies, and then they'll make their masala. Okay, and then they'll marinate the fish, or whether if it's pork, then they'll marinate that for about an hour. So your dish would actually take about 2 hours to do. So just doing that, I mentioned in my book as well that just doing that process again puts you in tune, right? It puts you in tune with the food that you're cooking, and in all likelihood, that food has probably come from your backyard. Okay, and you've shooed away the crows. You made sure that it's been watered. So there's a connection with that vegetable that you're cooking. So you're again in tune with your produce, with your food. So that brings again the sense of your connection, which makes you satisfied. Uh, so that's another important part which brings in Susegad. Then the whole cooking process itself, which is again slow, right? You don't go through it with your packet masalas or whatever. You take your own sweet time. You sometimes marinate things for an hour, sometimes maybe overnight, right? So that connection is there. So I think the preparation of food itself is a Susegad part of it. And then of course eating it is completely Susegad. Okay, so the best way to have Goan food, and I've said that as well in my book, is you have to eat it with your hands. Okay, if you're going to have fish, and if you're going to have curry, and if you're going to have sheet which is rice, then you have to eat it with your hands. And eating with your hands is actually again awakening your senses, right? It seems really silly, like I've said this in my book as well, that I'm going to devote some time to write eating with your hands. That's a bit dumb. And of course, as Indians, a lot of us do anyway eat with our hands. So it's not something that's foreign to us, right? But just eating with your hands on a daily basis after you've cooked with your own hands, hopefully, then eating that with your own hands again is like you're feeling the temperature, you're feeling the texture of the vegetable, you're feeling the texture of ukde tandul. Ukde tandul is par-boiled rice, and a lot of Goans, especially if you not tried this rice, then please try and have ukde tandul, which is your par-boiled rice. It's like this non-starchy rice, and it's dried with the husk on, and then it's par-boiled. So I think it's this love for Goan food, which you've kind of either you've preserved it, So for example, the other part of bringing in Susegad into food is, for example, let's just say dried fish, yeah, or dried mangoes, mango seeds. So a lot of Goans use mango seeds in their food. Okay, so now of course, being Goans, we all love mangoes. So not only will they eat that mango, but then they'll preserve the seed as well, and they'll dry it outside in the sun. Okay, and then those seeds are then used in your curries to add a little bit of tang to it. So again, it's kind of being in touch with the nature, using upcycling. Now the new word is upcycling, but we've been doing it for centuries in Goa. So yeah, that's the connection with food and Susegad.
So tell us, for all us city people, how can we add this food and Susegad to our lives?
Well, first thing you need to do is book a ticket, go to Goa. Okay, okay, that's your first step. And if you're working from home, then nobody's going to know that you're working from Goa. Just change your chroma to your background to this background, whatever it is that you have. Work from Goa, and then after you're done with your work, go to various restaurants. Okay, try the famous ones first. Okay, then find out what you like. Okay, and then pick up masalas. So if you're going to pick up masalas, you can pick up packet masalas. By the way, at the end of this video, maybe I'll show you some of the things that I have, okay, with the masalas and some of. So maybe we can do that towards the end. But okay, so the way that you can introduce Susegad in food in your life is so first, of course, go there, eat some of the most fun things that you like. If you're vegetarian, have some of the beautiful vegetarian food. If you're non-vegetarian, try out the local fish. Don't just try out the surmai and the rabas, but there are other Goan local fishes like morshe and lay, okay, and sonak, which are available at very local restaurants. So try out the different types of cuisine. Try out some of the Portuguese style cuisines, the Luso Goan, what they call Luso Goan cuisines. Okay, wherever you can. So I'm not giving out any restaurants names in particular. You can go wherever, even your local restaurant will have it. Try and do that. Then go to a market, go to Mapsa, go to Panjin, go to the big markets and pick up your masalas. Okay, try and pick up not the packaged ones, but the ones that they grind and they give you. You'll get that completely different flavor. Try and pick up coconut jaggery. Okay, so Goans use a lot of coconut jaggery, right, as opposed to sugarcane jaggery. So coconut jaggery is like these dark brown triangular jaggery pieces, and that's what they use in their sweets or even in tea. If you want to, instead of sugar, if you want to add jaggery, then you can do that. Then the other thing that I was mentioning is I love Goan rice. Okay, so Goan rice is with the husk. It's parboiled. It has this slightly whitish brown color. It takes a long time to cook. Okay, so forget about it being cooked in like 15 minutes. You've got to like cook it for at least half an hour. Okay, and that's fun in itself, right? Again, you're just waiting. It's teaching you patience, right? So everything seems to be teaching you some sort of, just accept that this is parboiled rice. It's going to take half an hour to cook, right? So these are the ways I think that you can use food to add Susegad.
So that's what I'm understanding. Slow cooking, being in tune with the food, and trying to get as close to the natural form of food as you can.
Yeah, it's the opposite of 2-minute Maggie noodles.
So don't go for all those packaged foods that we're used to in the city. Now, the third part you
Yeah,
said, so we covered the traditions, which is getting in sync with nature. The second part, which is the food, being very close to it, getting very deep in terms of slow cooking, is what I would take away from that conversation, and as natural as you can get. And but you said the
yeah,
third part is really about the festivals. So, what is it about the festivals that make you get Susagad in your
right,
life?
right, right. Yeah, so good point, Sukriti. So yes, festivals, the world over. Okay, again, now this, like I said, when I was writing this, for me, in the past, the festival was just some place that I went to have fun, right? Whether it's in Bombay or Goa or wherever, all of us take part in all our festivals, and we love them, we enjoy them. But what makes them so special, right, is what I started thinking about. And I think what makes them special is that they are a, a human creation, right? We literally pulled festivals out of thin air, right? We created them, and all our festivals are around human bonding, right? So it's an excuse to meet people. It's an excuse to, even if it's a ritual, it's actually an excuse to hold hands, because otherwise you'd never do that. When would you hug someone? When would you wish someone? It's rare, so festivals become like the background for human bonding. Yeah, so, and I think that's the part, that's the important part, which is universal. It's not just Goan. It's festivals are basically a place for us to all bond and have fun, whether it's dancing, singing, eating food, coming up with dishes, whether it's before the festival, during the festival, or the fights during the festivals, whatever it is, right? There is human friction and bonding that happens, right? And that's the important part about festivals, which when I was writing it, that's what I kind of discovered myself. And Goa is the land of festivals. So there is again a mixed population of Catholics and Hindus in Goa. Catholics, me being the Goan Catholic, I know a lot about the Goan festivals, the Catholic Goan festivals, and every church in Goa has their own church fest. Okay, and me and my family, we make it it's like an annual pilgrimage. Every year we go for the church festival in Kamuli. Yeah, and that church festival is basically where people, there's of course the church part of it, and then after that the entire village is kind of, takes part in it, where someone sets up some stall over here, someone brings some sweets, another person will get the various food items for the day, and all of that happens. And then after the mass, which happens typically in the morning and the afternoon, every home in that village will have a huge party and a blast and drinking and all of that, and food and sorpotel. So again, it's the coming together of the entire village, right? And post that, basically, in the evening, the church will have like a tiyat. A tiyat is basically a drama which is held, right? Which again is featuring local musicians or singers, or sometimes they'll invite other people from outside. So this is the festivals that take place. Okay, so that's the church festival. Then another festival is in Goa is called the mud festival. Okay, which is bizarre, but basically what they do is they play in mud. Okay, so I think if I'm not mistaken, it happens before the monsoon. It's called the Chikol Khel. Okay, and it happens in various villages. It's a Hindu festival. It happens in various temples and villages across Goa. It's called chikkol khel, which means chikkal. Chikkal is of course mud. And what they do is the men typically, I think, and some women if they want to, they're free to. They just kind of frolic in the mud. I don't know what they do. It's kind of like a just like a playful thing that you just kind of frolic in the mud, in the chikkal. And supposedly that's also good for our immune system. Maybe that's why we are Indians not so affected by corona. But there's the mud festival of Goa, which is very popular in Goa. Uh, there's the Sanjao festival of Goa. Okay, that's again very popular. Sanjao festival is basically just before the monsoons or during the monsoons. It's held where everybody jumps into the wells. Okay, now typically every old Goan house in Goa has a well, so everybody has their own well. Yeah, and for Sanjao festival, what this Sanjao festival stands for Saint John the Baptist, and Saint John the Baptist is the saint who basically baptized Jesus, right? And he kind of dunked him into the river, right? Now, of course, everybody can't be doing that in Goa, but there are lots of wells, so I think it moved from rivers to wells. And there's a lovely fusion between Catholics and the Indian culture with Sanjao. So what happens over there is that a lot of newly married people, okay, if you're a newly married couple, okay, as a Hindu, you would kind of take gifts to your in-laws. You know, the first time you visit your in-laws after marriage, you would take gifts to them. So that tradition still continues during Sanjao, where the husband's family gets a basket of gifts, whether it's fruits or vegetables or penny or whatever, right? They come to that well, and on Sanjao, okay, the fenny bottles, okay, and the local fenny bottles are thrown into the well, okay, and now it's all these newly married grooms, okay, who must now jump into the well and try and retrieve those fenny bottles. It's not just fenny bottles, it's also sometimes vegetables and or a fruit and all of that. But it's more fun if it's fenny, because then whoever the groom who gets that fenny bottle gets to celebrate it with his friends. So that's again this brilliant and joyous festival called Sanjao, where everybody jumps into to the well. So if you're going during the monsoon, then try and visit the Sanjao festival, which happens across Goa, wherever you.
And for
Yeah.
those of us now, how does festivals help? Because a lot of traditions and festivals, how do they help us in finding contentment?
Yeah, I think all of us, this last year has showed us that if you don't bond with other people, you feel sick. It's as simple as that. Whether it's with your own family members or whether it's with extended family members, right? The pandemic showed us that isolation is not really good for any of us, right? So even though it was a bit risky to take part in festivals or to visit people, or whether it was Diwali, or whether it was Christmas, or whether it was Ganpati or Lori, or whatever it is, every festival that we missed in the last year, that showed us how important it is to kind of be together, even if it's among strangers, but be together whether if it's Durga Puja, or whether it's the midnight mass, or whether it's around a bonfire during Holi or Lori. It's showed us the importance of just having people around us, right? Whether it's doing some silly dance, or whether it's some stupid fight that happens between family members. All of it is again accepting part of human nature, right? Which is that we want to bond, we just love to bond, and the more we do that, the better it feels. So yeah, that's the Susegad element, I think, of festivals, which is universal. It's not just food.
So you talk about a lot of short stories in your book. Is there any specific short
Yeah,
story or an interview that you
yeah,
want to share with us before we see
yeah,
your
sure.
kitchen and all the stuff that you stocked up for us?
Yeah. I will come to that. Yeah. So when I was writing the book, it was supposed to be. I mean, it is a non-fiction book by and large, right? But again, my writing style is a little more casual, a little more humorous. So I said, why not also add short stories to the book, right? And all of each of the chapters. So there are, by the way, there are different chapters, like on home, on music, on food, and all of them go by their Goan names. So food is Jevon, Doria is sea, Parampara is tradition, Kasa is home. Each of these chapters have a short story at the end, and all of these short stories have something to do with that chapter. So, for example, there is a murder mystery in the in the book, okay, revolving around mangoes. Okay, so in the chapter on food, I have written a book called a short story called the Mankurad case. Now, Mankurad is a very, very, very popular Goan mango. Okay, all of us know about the Alfonso, but the Moncurad is also a very popular graft of mango, which one of the Portuguese came up with, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So the short story around that is about how someone gets murdered and his body is found next to a case of mangoes, and now it's up to the inspector to try and solve that case. Okay, so that's called the Mankurat case. Okay, or there is another short story around a home. So the word for home in Portuguese is casa, right? So there is a short story around that. Now, a lot of Goan homes, I don't know how many of you have been to Goa, but if you've seen some of the old traditional homes, their windows have this lateral stripy, frames. I don't know if you've noticed that. Okay, but those frames, okay, the whitish part of it is actually mother of pearl. So the mother of pearl is basically the lacquer that surrounds a pearl in an oyster. Yeah. So the windows of Goan frames are made out of this mother of pearl. And the reason they're made out of mother of pearl is because they are translucent. Okay, so it allows a lot of light in. Again, in the olden days, people didn't have fans, they didn't have ACs, but they wanted their homes to be airy and they wanted light to come in. They didn't want it to be stuffy. So the window frames were huge, right? If you've seen the old Goan homes, the window frames are very big. Okay, so and each of them have this knacker to them. So I've written a story called Mother of Pearl in the chapter on home, which again talks about a Goan family and how they discover this Mother of Pearl in the home in their house. Yeah. So that's how I beamed in all of these short stories.
Thank you. And so, if you were to sum it up and say, okay, what can we take back and say, okay, we may not be able to go to Goa, we can't live in Goa, we can't have those lovely beaches around us. So, how can we bring that Susegad to wherever we are?
Yeah, excellent question. Because not all of us can live in Goa, not all of us can be in Goa, and that's not the point. The point is not for all of us to kind of relocate to Goa, but the idea is to kind of bring Susegad to your own life, right? And it's also to bring Ikigai into your own life, whatever you want. Try and find satisfaction however you can. So the way to bring Susegad into your life, okay, for me, is to try and insource. Now that's the opposite of outsourcing. Again, while writing this book, I found that maybe a lot of times, a lot of us are dissatisfied because we've outsourced everything, you know. So whether it's food or whether it's our domestic duties, from cleaning the house to cooking food to everything, we don't insource anything. Everything is outsourced, right? Which is fine, which is okay. Of course, we need to have some conveniences, and therefore we will outsource things. But the more you insource things, right, whether it's cooking or singing or dancing or chopping your own vegetables, the more you'll find yourself being busy. So it might not bring you happiness, but it will just bring you some sort of joy that you've just done something. The day passes by, and that's one way that I think, for me, the takeaway is how to find Susegad in your life. Find some of the Goan ways, connect with nature, be aware of the season, try and in-source as much as you can. Now that's really difficult, okay? Because all of us want to just click on YouTube or Netflix, or we just want to click on Zomato and order food, or we just want to Uber it, even if it's a very short distance. But if you can try and in-source things, so instead of ordering or instead of listening to a song, what about if you sing a song? Who knows? I mean, I suck at singing, but I try it. Right? So in-sourcing is one of the things that I think is a takeaway that you can add Susegad to your life.
So,
Yeah.
Sagarika has a question. I'm going to unmute her because you have so much knowledge. I think we want to know all about Goa. So, go ahead. She would like to unmute. Otherwise, I will ask it on her behalf. Any good and affordable hotels in Goa and the best food to eat?
Oh, affordable hotels in Goa? Well, that depends on where you're staying. And honestly, I mean, I really don't know about too many hotels in Goa. My suggestion would be is if you can try and homestay, because thanks to Airbnb, we all can try and get a homestay. So if you can try and get onto Airbnb and find someone who's in some village and who's also willing to offer you what they cook, or buy bread from the poder that comes on a cycle every morning and honks, uh, that will be your true Goan experience. And if you can kind of try and do that for a few days rather than staying in a hotel, Maybe you can stay in a hotel as well if you want, because yes, of course, we want the pool and we want all of that. So do that as well. But also try and do a homestay. It'll be tough, but if the person has a well in his home, you can just say, hey, can I use your well? Trust me, the well water bath is something that you have to do. I don't know how many of you have done it, but I do that every year, and it's beautiful.
Fantastic. Any short stories in the book, real life stories? Are they fictional or are they real life?
Okay, Rupika, nice question. Are any of the murder mystery? Could that be real? No.
Could be. Never know.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell. No, but to be very honest, a lot of them are based on the various things that I've seen in my own families and all of that, and the fun things that all of us have witnessed. A lot of the stories are all nice and happy and fun. All of them are fictional. There's no story that has really happened. They're all just out of my Susegad head. Yeah.
So Anjali would like to ask you a question, and then Amita, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Amita, go ahead.
I think you're on mute, whoever's asking the question.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clyde.
Yeah.
Yeah, good evening. I
Hi.
have not read your book. I love reading. I've been to Goa once. That was an official trip long ago. And in that 3 days, I haven't seen much of Goa. It's beautiful. I would like to explore much, and I hope I get the chance. And you were talking about the food, the culture. I mean, I did see everything of it in that 3 days because it was an official trip. They had organized a lot of things there, though they didn't take us much. The beaches, the flea market. I went to Panjim. Which part of Goa are you from? Like, uh, I
I'm.
mean,
Did you ask me which part of Goa I'm from?
yes.
Yeah, so my family used to be from Kolwale, and now we are in Kandulim. So we
Oh,
stay close by to the beach. Yeah.
yeah, everywhere. There's every outlet. There's a beach with nice Portuguese names. And I've seen that. I remember clearly in that 3 days we stayed at Taj, and that was facing the beach.
Yes,
And
yes.
the
I just know.
itinerary was, we couldn't go on to the river. The food, well, I haven't because I don't like fish. I don't like non-veg, so I just took normal food. But I'd seen your food from a distance, but I forgot to take the drink, bibinka. Everybody had taken that. I don't know. I left that out. It's one of the most in- delicious drink of Goa, right? It has a lot of things.
Penny.
Yeah, bebinka. Sorry, penny is it? What is bebinka?
Yeah, the drink is called
Drink is
penny,
sorry.
and the
Yeah,
sweet
penny. Sorry. Yeah,
the sweet
and
is bibinka. The sweet is bibinka.
okay. So this book, what is Susegad? What is that a Portuguese name or this book you have written to? Because I would like to read. I haven't read any of your books. So what is this Susegad? What is it actually? The meaning and what does your book tell? Uh, you know, speaks
Yeah,
about.
yeah. I didn't get the last part of your question. Did you ask me what bibinka means in Portuguese?
No, 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 no. What your book? The book I'm
What's your
coming to
book
your book.
about?
Okay, fine. All right.
Yeah.
So the book, of course, is basically all the magical ways that you can add Susegad into your life. So I don't know if you can see the title clearly. It's called Susegad, right? Susegad, the Goan art of contentment. Okay. So I don't know if it's inverse. It's the image inverse. I guess it is, right? But the book's name is Susegad, the Goan art of contentment. And Susegad means satisfaction, contentment, peace, and it's trying to find the Goan ways. The book basically tells you all the ways that Goans and Goa has tried to incorporate Susegad into their own lives, whether it's food or the music or the culture, the festivals, you know. So yeah, I hope I've answered that question. And then since you're a vegetarian, if that's what I got, then you must try the veg thalis in Goa. So vegetarian food is excellent in Goa. There's a lot of variety. Okay, so you don't think that it's only fish and pork in Goa. There's a lot of vegetarian food, and if you go to some of the really good restaurants like Konkani Canteen or Balkao or Lazy Goose in Kandulim. Then there are all river Viva Goa in Erul. then there are lots of fish thali, veg thali, sorry, that you can have.
Smita is
Yeah.
asking a very interesting question. Smita, I've asked to unmute you, but
Yeah.
until then, go ahead, Smita.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, it's a very interesting concept, but, can we replicate that in a city life? Or maybe we need to find our own, tricks to achieve contentment and all of that. Because as I understand, it's very state specific. Because a lot of the
Yeah.
things is not possible in a city life. So how would you suggest, we lesser mortals who are not from Goa to achieve that?
Yeah, to
Yeah,
take
Smita, it's a
up
very
here, yeah, I would like to mention that I do my own thing, whatever makes me happy, in Delhi. So it's like going to museums or doing other stuff, but that takes up a lot of time and I don't achieve much professionally. So I lead a retired, semi-retired life. So how do you balance out both the things?
right. Yeah, so it's a good question, Smita. And like I said before, that the book is not about going to Goa and it's not about finding Susegad in Goa. It's about finding Susegad wherever you are. And the hashtag for this session, I think, was find your Susegad, right? And it's important for us in all our lives to try and find that balance. So, Smita, to answer your question, is it possible to find Susegad in city life? I think the answer to that is that we're going to have to, because if you don't, you're going to be dissatisfied, you're going to be discontent, your levels of depression will be higher, you'll be, and that's an everyday battle, yeah, for all of us, especially now because we're so isolated. But what I've realized is that the more conveniences that you add to your life, it seems to be that the more dissatisfied you are. So try and do things, try and in-source. If you want to just use one word, try and in-source and try and see in the book, there are many ways Goans in-source things. So if you can in-source things in your own life, whether it's cooking or whether it's not watching, let's say, your favorite series, but trying to learn a song or trying to learn a dance step or doing something which exercises your body, in-sourcing, I think, is maybe the route to Susegad, to finding your Susegad.
Rupa, you had a question. Go ahead. Rupika? No? Amita had another question. I'm just going to ask her to unmute. Go ahead, Amita.
Yeah, just the last question. Thank you, Sukriti. Clyde, is he Clyde there?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Clyde is here.
Yeah, Clyde, interesting book and interesting view of it's not just about Goa and the culture, but
Thank you.
I'm sure going to read this book because I'm a person who loves reading book and I'm not a vegetarian, but actually I come from a non-veg family, but I'm more veg. I take chicken, I take egg, so I'm like
That's
in this
great.
mold and this shell. Yeah, my entire family is very high in non-veg, and I mean we came to the conference from all parts of India, so there were a bunch who was like veg, there was a bunch who was okay to go for your food, and I just had taken a few, but I can still remember the line. I hope someday I can make it and explore more of Goa. I haven't seen, so many of my friends and other people are going. Well, I hope I can get a chance to see Goa now and much more, places. And whatever they've taken us was great. We enjoyed, but there was still some more things. And we did a little bit of shopping. They gave time. So we were given a code, code to dress, and I'd taken something from home as well as bought some t-shirts, shorts, and since it was an official trip, and
Do you have a question also for Clyde? Amita, did you have a question?
yes, done. So I just told him that I'm going to buy the book because it's not only about Goa. It's not about Goa alone. It's an insight to every corner of around the country and people.
Right.
And, am I right?
About life. It's actually a book about life.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's
sorry, we always run out of time, and I know we were dying to see your spices, if you can show them to us quickly or before we wrap up the session for the evening.
Yeah, so I'll quickly, it's not just the spices. So basically what I thought I'll do is I'll just show you some of the things that I love and the ways that you can, try and bring Susegad into your life. So we'll start with my favorite masala. Okay, so the masala is called Jeere Mere Masala. So I don't know if you guys can see this. but it's a very typical Goan masala. So there is of course shakuti masala, there is caprial masala, but I thought I'd show this because this is a bit different. It's called jeere mere masala. Okay, it's not too spicy. It's got a lot of jeere in it and a lot of other spices which you can look up and try and make maybe at home if you want to. But this is a very different tasting spice, so you can try this. Okay, then the other thing is the very famous Goan rice. So I don't know if you guys can see very clearly, but this is what I was mentioning is ukre tandul. Okay, so it's called ukre tandul. It's parboiled rice. It's slightly brownish and white. The brownish is there because it's the husk is on, and because the husk is on, it maintains some of its nutrients. It's not so starchy. Again, I was not an expert on all of this. I just learned about it while writing the book. Otherwise, I used to just love eating it. Okay, but there are many varieties of Goan rice. You guys can check this out. Go to your local market when you're in Goa and try and buy this. If not, if someone's going to Goa, tell them to get you some ukre tandul. Okay, not brown rice. It's actually white rice, but it has the husk on, and that's why it looks brown. Right. So that's your ukre tandul. Then the other thing that I like the most, okay, in Goa is zantes. Okay, so this is the cashew nut. This is the very famous cashew nut in Goa. It's called zantes. It's my favorite. I'm not pushing it because they're paying me or anything like that. Okay, it's what I love. This brand is my favorite brand. I've tried many different varieties. But when growing up, we used to roast our own cashews just for fun, which is a very time-taking process. When you can't do that, so the next best thing, of course, is to buy your own cashew nuts. You can make sweets with them. You know, you guys know what to make with them. You can just eat them. But zantes is my favorite. Okay, and the other fifth way that you can add Susegad into your life is, like I was mentioning, these are the mother of pearl windows. So if you go to Goa, you will see these kind of windows with this frame and this white, vertical stripes. So the white vertical stripes, okay, they are made out of mother of pearl. So mother of pearl, like I mentioned before, is the nacre that the oyster sheltered with, and it's basically this that is removed, and then they make them out of that. The windows are made out of mother of pearl. So this is mainly now in very old Goan houses. Okay, again, this is something that's going. We're not seeing too much of this, of course, with new buildings coming up. Not too many people are doing this, but you can still try and get these if you're going to Goa. If you want a novelty like this, then there is this museum called Museum of Goa. I've interviewed the founder of the Museum of Goa in my book. His name is Dr. Subodh Kirkar. You can check out, you can buy this at his museum, so you can add a bit of Susegad in your life. Okay, so that's one more way that you can add Susegad into your life. And the last and final thing that I'll show you, you guys, I'll have to move a little bit for this, so maybe you can see. But I don't know if you guys can read the sign over there. I don't know if it's inverse, but this is called the azulejo style. Okay, so if in Goa you see a lot of the homes, the bungalows, the villas, they have their nameplate on tiles, right? So this is Clyde D'Souza. I don't know if you can read that. Okay, but since I live in an apartment in Bombay, I thought I'd take one for myself, so I'd add Goa to my life. So that's the azulejo style, so which you can get made for you. So if you're going to Goa, go to Panjim. The place that I got this made from is a place called Marco Artifacts. Okay, so Marso Artifacts, I think it's called. It's next to this really excellent restaurant called Riva Panjim. Riva Panjim is a restaurant in the Fontana's area of Panjim, which is the old Portuguese heritage homes, and it's also been tagged as that by the UNESCO. So you should go there, eat your fish thali, eat your fish, eat whatever it is, have a glass of feni over there, then go to Marso and get your tiles made so you can add Susegad to your life. So these are the ways that you can add Susegad in your life wherever you live.
Thank you, Clyde. I mean, I think for me, the two takeaways, I mean, getting in sync with nature, and I think the new word, the insourcing. I think a lot of us have just outsourced everything and maybe going back to that slow cooking. So those were some of the takeaways for me. I'm sure all of you took away something. And we thank you all for joining us today. And thank you, Clyde, for this very insightful session and making us all wish that we were sitting in Goa with you.
Yes, thank you. And I do hope all of you will, thank you, A, for listening, for watching, and for your lovely questions. Thank you, Sukriti, for hosting this wonderfully. I enjoyed myself a lot. And, Susegad, buy the book, get the book, gift a copy to someone. Have to do the promotion part. Let's make this a bestseller. Let's try and bring out Susegad into the world, and just help all of us live, better lives and have fun and be Susegad.
Thank you. Thank you. With that, I wish you all a good night and an excellent weekend. We have lots of interesting stuff coming up on Sipping Thoughts. So please do keep joining back.
Thank you.
Thank you.